Hi everyone, I'm Kaius with a K. Admittedly, I had another video planned to release at the end of March / start of April period, but there's been a big surge of discussion regarding a specific topic that I would have probably gotten around to later this year anyway, and for once I'd like to strike while the iron is hot instead of talking about it years after the conversation has already become irrelevant. At the time of writing this video, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is in the final few weeks of its hype cycle and is making the frankly bizarre decision to forgo revealing popular characters like Blueberry, Yamazaki, or Kim Jae Hoon by instead announcing the most awkward, jarring celebrity guest cameos in recent memory. All of which are almost definitely shoehorned in by SNK shareholders who share very little faith in the IP's ability to sell itself, which is a particularly odd call because the series' main character has a legacy of appearing in crossovers of a pretty large pedigree in the first place, such as Super Smash Bros. And Fall Guys. Counting these two games alone, the amount of insane characters Terry Bogard and Mai Shiranui have shared screen space with is palpable. You've got Sora, Godzilla, Sonic, Hatsune Miku, and fucking SpongeBob! This is just counting 2 games, and in these 2 games, Fatal Fury was given roughly the same amount of love and general razzmatazz as all of these previously mentioned IPs. I, like many internet users, carry opinions on this sort of stuff, and I'll just keep it brief by saying that I think these inclusions are pretty silly and that maybe we shouldn't be including people whose Wikipedia has a 3-paragraph legal issues section as characters in fighting games, but I digress. To be honest, I'm pretty shocked that Terry hasn't shown up in Fortnite or something yet, especially considering Fall Guys gives him a direct tie to that brand, but whatever. It will probably be data mined by the time this video goes up. About Fatal Fury's guest characters, Ganacci looks fine, but Ronaldo's animations are kind of hilariously bad. In a game where the cast is fluid and exaggerated in their movements, it's weird to see a character who moves so stiffly you'd think he went into rigor fucking mortis. For what it's worth, his animations aren't even half as bad as the way his real life counterpart treats women, but that's neither here nor there. SNK, I want to buy your game so bad it's so fun to play, please stop making me not want to buy your game. And by the time this video's done, they'll probably announce that the final launch character is like fucking Skrillex or IShowSpeed or something. Never mind, it's Hokutomaru, thank fucking god, it's an actual fucking character, it's Hokutomaru, thank fucking god. Anyway, I figured I'd take this topic as an opportunity to dive into fighting game guest characters as a whole, and figure out whether or not there are fighting games with weirder special guests than Christiano Ronaldo or Salvatore Ganacci. Yes there are so many. The earliest instance of a fighting game guest character can be traced back to Fighters History's inclusion of the unplayable boss character Karnov, who originates from the 1987 game of the same name as its heel protagonist. Karnov was a human who was reincarnated as a servant of the heavens as punishment for being an evil bastard in his mortal life, and now he fights to atone for his sins and earn his freedom. The American version of the game puts a different spin on the plot, instead depicting Karnov as a circus strongman called Jinborov Karnovsky who can shoot fireballs, who's on a quest to regain the lost treasure of Babylon to save the people of the village of Kremina from the evil dragon creatively named Ryu. Not really sure why I'm explaining these plots to you, because when Karnov appeared in Fighters History, they downplayed pretty much all of these fantastical elements from his character, and now he's just a wealthy collector of ancient artifacts who hosts the Great Grapple as self-entertainment. Going off of the original game's Japanese plot, it could be that Karnov reincarnated after fulfilling his duty and went right back to fighting people after becoming bored of a peaceful life, but that's speculative. Karnov is perhaps best known for his role in the game's sequel Fighters History Dynamite, also called Karnov's Revenge in Europe, where he has one of the most infamously silly attacks in any fighting game. 632147p, Balloon. When Karnov uses Balloon, he inflates, making him big and round, and enters a float state wherein he is completely strike invulnerable before landing in an animation that is absurdly mobile and leads to insane cross-ups. The active frames of Balloon can also be cancelled into an aerial attack, which can, in turn, be special cancelled back into Balloon, allowing him to completely reset his pressure whenever he wants. It's completely fucking ridiculous. At least until you get clipped with an air throw. Fighters History Dynamite also featured a second hidden guest character, called Ox. He's an ox. This is the same ox that you fight at the end of Karate Champ, Data East's earlier fighting game, and the game gives you one round, win or lose, to fight against him. I do think that it's a little superfluous to definitively say that this random Ox is the same one who was in Data, a seminal one-on-one fighter, but that is what production is holding me at knife point to say. Well, while we're talking about animal guests, this is probably a good time to bring up Gon from Tekken 3. He was added as a hidden guest character in the PlayStation release, and because of his relative obscurity outside of Japan, a lot of old school Tekken fans were under the impression that he was just a brand new character they added to the Tekken universe. Especially since while he doesn't match up with Tekken's cast stylistically, it's not like boxing dinosaurs were a new or novel thing for the series at the time. Gon is the titular character of a seinen manga published in Kodansha's weekly morning magazine. It was created by Masashi Tanaka and is most notable for being a silent comic, featuring no dialogue or onomatopoeia for its entire 11-year run. It covers Gon's adventures with other animals, who always hate him because he's a little piece of shit who doesn't get along with anybody. The first thing to note about the art in this manga is that it's absolutely gorgeous and very highly detailed. The character facial expressions are really funny too, like you can't go 2 pages without the characters making an insanely pissed off frown or the most "he realised he's not built for this" face of all time. Despite having no dialogue or written text in its stories, they're shockingly easy to follow as the artwork is really concisely made, so the pantomimic storytelling becomes a really big part of its charm as you read through it. And hey, there I am! This commitment to no dialogue is why it's so perplexing to think about that the 2012 anime adaptation, alongside being a more kid-friendly version, decided to give the show full dialogue, with big-timer Motoko Kumai as the voice of Gon. As you'd expect, the use of voice acting for this world and its characters is fucking jarring and doesn't make for a very fun watch if you're looking for a strong adaptation of the original work.
He looks like he's about to cry. So, kid, what's your name? You got a name, don't ya?
Gon.
What? Okay, Gon. Where'd you come from? No, not your name. Where do you live?
Gon.
Smart aleck, huh? You want a taste of my fit?
By the way, I found out that due to the Netflix dub not being available anymore, an entire half of this show is fucking lost media. So if you happen to have these episodes on hand, there's a very good chance you're sitting on someone's lost media holy grail. What does any of this tangent have to do with Tekken 3 though? Well, nothing. I just wanted to talk about Gon. It's a good manga, and you should read it. Or perceive it, I guess, there's no text to read. Gon could be unlocked in Tekken 3 by defeating him in Tekken Ball mode, or just by going to survival mode and creating a high score of the initials GON, which is what I assume everyone including me did. He looks pretty much exactly like his original manga design, except he has red boxing gloves a la Roger, whom he also shared some moves with. He's small and he's fast, and he was banned in a lot of tournaments, not because he was good or anything, but because dealing with these moves as both Gon's player and his opponent was obtusely annoying, especially since his size made him interact in really strange ways with other characters' moves. What he's perhaps best known for in gameplay are his unblockable attacks, which include his 1-2 Dino Breath, which is a fireball, and his back 4, which creates a fart projectile that instantly knocks down opponents on contact. This move is called Skunk Killer, or Gone with the Wind in the overseas release. The most memorable part of Gon's inclusion to me is his arcade ending, which shows Gon interacting with various animals in ways that resemble scenes from the original manga. When this ending finishes, it immediately restarts itself, with it seamlessly looping the sequence of events from beginning to end, making it the only ending in Tekken 3 that you are required to skip, maybe aside from Julia's.
Mother!
Bandai Namco has a pretty consistent knack for making these teensy tiny guest characters, since Soulcalibur IV featured a pretty at the time unprecedented Star Wars collaboration, which included the Apprentice as an unlockable character, as well as Yoda and Darth Vader, who were timed console exclusives on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 respectively, and were released as paid DLC characters on the platforms that they weren't exclusive to. Good luck getting these now though, fucking Disney got to them. Whenever I talk about this collab with my non-fighting game friends, they always seem to recall that Yoda was banned for being insanely broken and busted, and while this is technically true, Yoda is not broken and busted in the way many people tend to think when they hear the phrase broken and busted. The reason he was banned was because he was a console exclusive character. This is, of course, pretty much par for the course for console exclusive characters, especially at the time. And when it came time for the console exclusives to be released as paid DLC for the other systems, it was argued that Yoda's ban should remain in place due to, of course, his size and inability to be hit with highs or frozen neutral. But the Soulcalibur IV community determined that this character should be unbanned because he simply sucks too bad to reasonably justify playing him anyway.
So, is Yoda really broken in this game? Is he?
Yoda is one of the rare instances where broken does not mean ridiculously good. He can't be grabbed, which is a huge part of the game, so he's broken. I don't think he's that good though.
Yoda is so not broken. He actually fixes everyone around him with his non-brokenness.
Well, France allegedly kept him banned according to 8-Way Run because the Star Wars characters and Algol, for some reason, why is Algol catching strays of this, don't fit with the game's story. That is crazy. We need more lore-compliant character bans in fighting games, actually. We should ban Heihachi in Tekken 8 because I personally do not like how he was implemented into the game's story. Actually, come to think of it, this was just Kronika's entire motivation in the MK11 story mode. In a previous video I made, I talked a fair bit about fighting Vipers and the many random characters hidden away in its game files. So it would be very remiss of me to go through this video without bringing up the big beefy soda can himself, Pepsi Man. It's really hard to talk about Pepsi Man without feeling the need to explain who he is to people who almost definitely already know, but basically he was the Japanese Pepsi mascot in the 90s, and he's this big faceless metal guy wearing nothing but a chain necklace and a ring with the letter P on it. Pepsi Man was a huge financial flop, but before being retired he did get a video game of his own in '99 and has since become a bit of a cult hero. Okay, side note, considering this guy is literally always depicted with like condensation dropping off of his body like a fresh can of Pepsi, gets put in pretty blatantly thirst trap shots and is generally a bit of a fail guy, I'm surprised they haven't brought this guy back. He would so take off as a modern day Tumblr sexy man, or maybe I'm projecting. Knowing me, I probably am. At least put him in Fortnite or something. Look, he even has a dance. See? It's free money. Anyway, if you want to play as Pepsi Man in fighting Vipers, you just have to lose a round without dealing any damage. Then Pepsi Man will show up to seemingly save you and quench your thirst, just like in the commercials, before fighting you. If you win, you unlock him for play, and this fight actually replaces the current fight you're doing, and Pepsi Man's defeat advances the arcade mode. So if you have a particular opponent you dislike, you can just hit the "oh shit, I need to fight Pepsi Man right now" option select and put your controller down. The cutscene that plays when you first challenge him is fucking incredible, and for the sake of this video, I'm going to play this sequence completely unedited. Unfortunately, this is not a repeatable unlock condition, meaning that you must pick wisely on which fight you want to skip. After Pepsi Man is unlocked, you also have the option of performing what is called a Pepsi Man reset in the Hidden Options Plus menu, which literally just banishes him from your roster, meaning you have to unlock him again. I think it's pretty funny that this feature exists in the first place, like the option to just re-lock a character. Pepsi Man's bio is interesting, not including any metrics and listing his specialty as quench one's thirst, which is again his superpower from the commercials. It's also alluded to in his B-win pose. In terms of his gameplay, he's a mishmash of other characters like you'd expect, mostly Tokyo and Raxel, and as if the character wasn't enough of a walking commercial, his credit portraits are literally filled with pics of various cast members drinking clearly displayed cans of Pepsi. This is one of the more famous additions in the console version of Fighting Vipers, and some people even thought that you could get him in the 7th gen re-releases or even in Fighters Megamix, but you can't. Pepsi Man cannot fight Hornet.
Win!
Admittedly, these last few topics have been relatively safe, so I should probably start injecting some Kaius flavor, you know, that completely left field obscure bullshit. Did you know that MMA fighter and Nigerian-born Japanese television personality Bobby Ologun was in Shingo Kitsuji Ichizoku Bono Kaiho? I bet you didn't. Silly Billy. Though Shingo Ketsuji Ichizoku Bono Kaiho wasn't released outside Japan, it may better be known as a console exclusive update to Matrimelee, which is... You know what? Better than telling you, I'm just going to play a single round of Matrimelee on screen completely unedited. Really take the opportunity to breathe it all in.
Round one, fight!
Oh, that's good. Bobby appears as a boss character in this game, even being voiced by himself. Yeah, this guy was actually a pretty notable television personality in Japan in the 2000s, as he found moderate success as Gaitare or Gaijin Talento, which basically means foreign talent. It's a subject that appears to be a whole thing that I can't really get into, but there's a really great documentary called The Japanese Version that goes into this, which will probably show up in the corner, right there, yeah. Bobby is one such Gaijin Talento famous for his frequent comedic mistakes with the Japanese language, usually feigning confusion or mispronouncing Japanese words with raunchier words, which eventually led to him being a regular on Sanma no Super Karakuri TV. If you want a general vibe check of the tone of this inclusion, think of it like Norimaru except on a roster filled with characters who are kinda already their own Norimarus. Bobby lives up to the idea of a Gaijin Talento, being extremely expressive in his sprite work and animations, with his head often becoming enlarged to show off various exaggerated expressions. This might sound jarring at first to the average person, but as you saw before, the Power Instinct series is very openly zany and doesn't take itself too seriously. However, Bobby's moveset is weirdly barren compared to most of the cast, as he only has 4 moves that seemingly lack any interesting applications outside of standard bread and butter combos. Granted, I might just not have discovered the strengths of the character for myself, especially since Bono Kaiho is a much less played game than Matrimelee, due to a mix of its lack of accessibility and generally underwhelming changes to the cast and gameplay. And if you're wondering why a lot of the footage doesn't involve me playing as Bobby, that's because he's not playable in the arcade mode, and for other game modes he has to be unlocked for Bono Kaiho's stupid fucking card system, which requires you to wait for a bunch of extremely menial unlockables to be used in versus mode, like the ability to cancel specials into specials, unlocked per character by the way, random color alterations like Zombie or Extreme, and of course the additional boss characters Sissy and Bobby. Honestly, as novel as it is to have a variety show personality in a fighting game, the changes Bono Kaiho makes from Matrimelee make playing the former not really worth it in my opinion. Matrimelee has better guest characters anyway, featuring 4 fighters from Noise Factory's other, superior fighting game, Rage of the Dragons. Truthfully, I've been watching a lot of American Dad lately, and when I was thinking about completely left field guest characters, I couldn't help but think about the official American Dad vs Family Guy Flash game. Yeah, there was a Seth MacFarlane themed fighting game released as a Flash game in 2006 to promote the release of American Dad's Season 1 DVD release and Family Guy's Season 3 DVD release. It's clearly a riff on the fighting game crossover with 8 playable characters, MK-styled inputs, and that good old-fashioned Flash game button mashiness. Toward the end of 2006, they released a Turbo Edition sequel/update that capped out the roster at 13 characters, adding the 4 remaining family members, Steve, Francine, Meg, and Brian, as well as bizarrely Ryu from Street Fighter with his Street Fighter 2 sprites. This is an officially endorsed appearance by Capcom USA, so I'm literally allowed to include it here. Playing Ryu with MK-styled inputs feels bizarre to say the least, especially when his special moves aren't really notated like you'd expect them to, like it's forward back light punch for a Hadouken or forward heavy punch for a Shoryuken. Like I said earlier, he uses his Street Fighter 2 sprites, though they are miscoloured and have a black outline to them like the rest of the cast. Plus, despite having his Street Fighter II sprites, his voice from the Alpha series is used instead. Ryu's inclusion is complete with his Hadoken, Shoryuken, Tatsumaki Senpukyak, and of course, poorly spelled stereotypical Romaji wing quotes. Oof! Speaking of Street Fighter, it's about time I do what I do best and close out the video with the most insane thing I could think of. The creme de la creme of weird fighting game guest characters. Look, if you think you already know who I'm going to talk about, I just want you to store that in the back of your mind, put up your suspension of disbelief, and come along for the ride. A long time ago, there was a venture from Capcom called Daletto, and way back in 2008, they created this novel little fighting game that didn't use conventional control schemes like controllers, pads, sticks, or even a keyboard. This game used your mouse, and it was aptly named Street Fighter Online Mouse Generation. I remember when I found out about this game, I really wanted to play it. Like, I wanted to play it so bad. But there were so many other fine games that were also called Street Fighter Online, and at the time I didn't really understand that it was a Japan exclusive thing, that I wasn't linguistically savvy enough to really discover on my own, let alone make an entire account on a Japanese site to access. SFO or SFO is a really interesting little game, technically being a lot of firsts for the series. For example, this was actually the first appearance of Akira Kazama in a Street Fighter title, where she's joined by fellow rival schools graduate Batsu. SFO's original character Shen was also the first South Korean fighter and the first Taekwondo practitioner in the series, appearing 2 whole years before Juri's introduction in Super Street Fighter IV. There's also a lot of collaboration characters that were introduced over the course of the game's life, mostly characters based on works by Louis Cha alongside some manga like Cyborg 009 and Detroit Metal City, who all stylistically blend surprisingly well given the game's art style that makes every character appear like a little action figure, with the lines of articulation and everything. They also let you make custom outfits by swapping the toy parts, which could be purchased for an in-game gachapon system. On top of this, they also dropped another DLC character for Valentine's Day the following year and... Okay, there's literally no fucking easy way I can segue into this. It's going to be a bombshell no matter what I say. It was Obama. It was 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. I need to really repeat myself here to make sure that this is solidified into your brain. American politician Barack Hussein Obama II was in a Japanese exclusive Street Fighter Online gacha game. Capcom released a Street Fighter video game whose Valentine's Day character release was Barack Obama! Okay, well, to be fair, there's nothing that really says this is a completely official collaboration between Capcom and Barack Obama, but it is very much a guest character by sheer technicality. And the absurdity of even thinking to include a caricature of a US president in your fighting game in the first place is nothing short of crazy. Obama played a lot like Ryu according to the people who documented this. Get this fucking sentence. Holy fucking shit, what did I just say? Obama played a lot like Ryu according to the people who documented this game, and that's actually all I have to go off of because no matter how hard I try to find it, there's literally no footage or gameplay of Obama online that I can find. Barack Obama in Street Fighter is lost media. The entire game is lost media because it has gone the way of many old Flash games that required a login and is fucking no longer accessible. The short-sighted nature of forced sign-ins has created so many lost video games that it's insane, and what's most frustrating about this is that I don't have any SFO background footage for this segment, because if I can't put a Barack Obama corner lip on the screen, there's genuinely nothing that can be a worthy replacement! Holy fucking shit, how do I transition out of this segment?
Beatboxing puppy.
Huh?
So I hope that you guys have learned about a few extra crazy guest characters. And to think I didn't even bring up some of the more well-known modern ones like Negan in Tekken, or any of the guest characters in modern NRS games like Conan or Spawn or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's fucking baby shit, dude. Those picks all feel weirdly consistent with the aesthetics and direction of the franchise, even if you don't really seem to think so at first. MK in particular is a series whose guest characters, while a little overbearing in number, do seem to have a consistent vibe or theme to them. Maybe except for M1K's second combat pack. That shit's just weird. Well, that about covers everything I wanted to talk about this time. I think that next time Fatal Fury wants to add someone who people will get annoyed by, they should just look to me instead. Look, I'll even do the trailer for them. Whatever! Run in a circle of time. Go, my Bartling! Yeah. Nothing starting a Caramba Explosion XL! Reaction they can't contain. Thanks to Jericho, Mick XCat, Penrust, Phenomenal, and Tyflo for their support on Patreon. This video kinda came out of nowhere and I was sick recently, so I don't really have anything for a bonus feature for this video. I'll probably have another video out this month anyway, which should hopefully make up for that, and if I do make a bonus feature for this vid, I'll be sure to let you all know in the pinned comment. As always, supporting me is greatly appreciated, whether that be monetarily or just through word of mouth. Okay, bye!